she's grown, but like both said, I don't curse in front of my mama. If I cuss, I'm like ducking because I know she might hit me, right? Like, and I don't know, like she can beat me up type thing. It's just like I respect her enough to let her hit me if I cuss around her, right? Like I respect her. That's just respect. I'm not gonna do that, and we might do a little sexual innuendo around her or whatever, because my mom's like, okay, I'm glad y'all have a healthy sexual relationship, right? But there's a difference of that and just flat out disrespect, and I felt like that's disrespect, and yeah, he would have had to see me that day.
What up, what up, what up? It's Three Brothers No Sense, your favorite barbershop style podcast. I am Ferg with my co-host Buff and Rozzy. Fellas, what it do?
What up, y'all? A little bit of good news out there. So for the ladies out there, or even the guys that really, really liked, what is it, Desperate Housewives, they're going to do a reboot of Desperate Housewives called Return to Wisteria Lane. So I said it was for the ladies first. I mean, but some guys did watch it. I liked Army Wives. I'm not even going to lie. So I watched Army Wives the entire series, and it was really, really good. So I would want them to reboot that, but they're rebooting Desperate Housewives. So for all the ladies out there that, were really into Desperate Housewives, get excited because we're returning to Wisteria Lane. It's a spinoff called Wisteria Lane. So
Buff, every once in a while, Rozzy reminds me that my best friend's a bad and I don't know if it's me. I don't know. I don't know. That's all you got, Rozzy?
No. No, that's not all.
Yeah, you got to follow up with something more than that.
Yeah, no, I got something else. So yeah. So for the families out there though, I do want to say that there's a new show called Wayfinders. I don't know what platform it's on. I just saw the trailer for it and it looks pretty good. It's kind of like a Jumanji type of thing with a little Chronicles of Narnia put into it. So family friendly series that people can kind of go out watch together with the kids if they are into like sci-fi fantasy, that type of thing. So go check that out there. And finally, I want to shout out to Shedeur Sanders. He is the first in history 5th round pick with the number 1 selling jersey. So again, we talked a little bit about how they screwed Shedeur over in the draft, and it kind of shows that the NFL is a business, and yeah, we want a quarterback that can kind of get us Super Bowls and that type of stuff, but you also want to sell the product, right? And the merch and all of that. And so he's a household name, and he's doing a lot for the NFL on that side of it. He's getting eyes on. It's kind of like we talked about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and that type of thing. He's doing a little bit of that. He's bringing the sensationalism that, we know that Dion knows how to do. He's bringing that in, and he's doing that as well. So he's doing a lot. He just signed a deal right after the draft, and he got drafted Delta, or was it Southwest? I can't remember. I think it's Delta, that he has a endorsement deal with them. They dropped a commercial right after he got drafted, that type of thing. So he's doing his thing, and the Browns actually have waived one of their quarterbacks already. They said that they're not going to renew his contract, so that the field is shrinking a little bit for the QBs at Cleveland. So just kind of cool that he's getting a little bit of house from the people out there, even if the owners and y'all homeboy Dr. Umar told Dion that they should sue the NFL for collusion, and so I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they should. You don't bite the hand that feeds you, as folks say,
because it's stupid.
Yeah. So even if they did, it's hard to prove it.
And they would be stupid to do that.
So you don't think they colluded? You don't think owners were like,
no,
what are your
no? And if you're done, I'll get right into
jump into
what are your thoughts, Buff?
Yeah.
First off, before we get to Shedeur, I want to give major props to Shiloh. Shiloh, who is Shedeur's brother, who went undrafted, but he was invited to Tampa Buccaneers. I just want to give him props because he was keeping his spirits up as best he could.
Big brother.
During those embarrassing moments for Shedeur. So I just want to give him props. That's a hell of a big brother you got there, Shedeur. I know you already know that, man. But just like we gave props to the fathers last week about the draft, man, for someone that doesn't have a male sibling, that it's real cool to see a big brother look out for his little brother like that. With Shedeur, man, I sat back and I watched a lot of people say how racist this was and how they were punishing this outspoken black man. And I just was kind of sitting back like people were when they were screaming racism about Juicy Smollett. I'm like,
this ain't the hill.
This one ain't it, bro. Y'all call Shedeur outspoken. Give me one major social issue that Shedeur has spoken out on. He's not outspoken. He's brash. He's not outspoken. Don't conflate the two. You know who is outspoken? Well, not outspoken, but it's just as brash as Shedeur. Cam Ward, who went number one in the draft. Who, if anything, he has a gripe. This brother went from being unrecruited in high school to making himself the number one draft pick in the NFL, and he's barely gotten a word. As soon as he was drafted, news broke about Jacksonville trading up and picking Travis Hunter, overshadowed Cam Ward, and then after that, it was all about when is Shedeur going to go. So if anybody has a gripe, it's Cam Ward. But it's laughable for people to say how racist this is when the number one draft pick is a black quarterback. Like that is hysterical to me. And I see people comparing him to Colin Kaepernick. Don't you dare.
Right.
Kaepernick sacrificed his career. So for the people that are saying the NFL wanted to make a statement against this outspoken man, what was the statement? To make him a 5th round draft pick? When you make a statement, they do your like they did Colin, and they make sure you don't play again. If they wanted to make a statement, his just wouldn't have been drafted. Point blank, period. I think we got to look at who told us Shedeur was going to be an early draft pick. His dad. His dad, who coached him in middle school, coached him in high school, coached him in college, coached him at his other college, Colorado. If anything, this is a success story. There's nothing, Shedeur hasn't won anything in college. Okay, people talk about how Lamar Jackson was slighted. He at least won the Heisman Trophy. There have been other quarterbacks who have won things and may have fell in the draft. Shedeur didn't win anything. He took a sorry team and won a little more games than they had previously. Other than that, his people point to the stats. 4,100 passing yards his final year, accounted for 41 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Anybody heard of Gardner Minshew? Gardner Minshew finished his career 42 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 4,700 yards passing. He went in the 6th round. It's not racism, man. It's just that Deion and his machine hyped this kid up to where he had people thinking he was going to be an early pick, and he wasn't. Now, I do think the Saints should have got him, and the kid they drafted, he looked kind of sorry from what I seen. So you may got a case right there, and I heard he interviewed poorly and all that stuff, but I just don't think this is some collusion. The league has shown us what they'll do when they collude against a black, truly outspoken athlete. This is the NFL. They're used to dealing with black athletes. That's damn near every wide receiver and cornerback in the league.
To make it to the league, you gotta have that ego. You gotta have that I'm the best mentality. Like that's part of it.
So I think it's really a success story for the fact that Deion, he kind of LeVar Ball Shedeur in that I don't think that the first son, his second son is actually pretty good. He just can't stop being injured. But LeVar Ball made the Lakers pick his son. I think they hyped this kid up enough to where he was talked about being drafted in the 1st round. And when he wasn't, people looked at it like, why? But you really got to look at the big picture. The league is not afraid to draft outspoken. Y'all think Cam Newton went outspoken? He went number 1. And he went number 1 after like controversy, stealing laptops and at his school. And I just, listen, I know racism is still in the league. It's been proven. That's why Colin Kaepernick won his lawsuit against them. It's definitely in the league. I just don't think it's that with Shedeur. But I will say this, with all of that said, if that brother wins a starting job and somehow wins a Super Bowl one day, the Nike commercial is already made. You just use that footage from draft day, baby. It's already, that better be one of the best Nike commercials I ever see in my life, bro. But other than that, man, because I'm sure we'll probably talk some more about Shedeur. On some more serious news, man, I just want people to pay attention. The Supreme Court, one of the cases they're hearing are government home raids, like the FBI kicking in your door. There's a family in Atlanta that is saying they should be able to sue the FBI who kicked in their door. There was the wrong house. They had a 7-year-old kid in there, traumatized him. And they're asking the court to allow them to sue the government, and the government is like, "Hey, y'all can't sue us for a my bad, for a oopsie. We kicked in the wrong door. We threw a flashbang grenade in here. We pointed guns at your kid. Oops, my bad."
Yeah.
I mean,
As
come on, it's a mistake.
as the Trump administration pays Ashley Babbitt's family.
You know what I mean?
Just throwing that out there, right?
So it looks like what the Supreme Court is going to do. They're not going to totally rule in the family's favor, who has bipartisan support, by the way. Senator Rand Paul thinks they have a case, as well as Senator Raphael Warnock of Georgia. They both feel like they have a case, but it looks like the Supreme Court may kick it back down to the lower courts and ask them to reconsider allowing this particular case to sue the government. But they don't want to give this blanket permission for people to sue the government, because they feel like law enforcement needs to have the flexibility to. I mean, they use lawful lawyer court lingo, but I'm gonna say they just want law enforcement to be able to say, "Oops, we f***ed up," every once in a while without being sued. So that's all I got, man.
Which I agree with. I will, we come down on law enforcement a lot on this show, but I will say I agree that law enforcement and these organizations need a little bit of leeway, right? There's a difference of, hey, we legitimately thought that was the right address, right? We have a warrant for that address and we went in the right address. So that's very different than, and the person doesn't live there, but that's where we thought they lived, versus I got a warrant for 2 houses down and I'm kicking in the door of the wrong house. Like, that is very different, I think, when you talk about trying to sue an organization or a company. So I agree, they need a little bit of
The
flexibility.
damage is the damage. I mean, the damage is the damage. The victim doesn't heal any faster because it was mistake 1 versus mistake 2. A mistake is a mistake. You have to find a way to fix the mistake. And if there's no consequences for the mistake, there's no reason to fix it. They can kick in 5 doors on the same house. I mean, the same block. Like, nope, never mind. Apartment 1, nope. 2, 3, 4. Hey, we knew it was one of them, or we thought it was one of them. We were at the wrong apartment. It was, Village Green and not the Green Villages, right? Like, it was, at the end of the day, if you make a mistake, and that's my whole thing, if you make a mistake, you pay the consequences. If I hit somebody with my car, am I going to jail? No. But there's an insurance claim. There's going to be an investigation. There's going to be things that happen. And the victim is going to be compensated in some form of action. I'm going to be reprimanded. I'm going to feel the pinch, right? Some form of fashion. Do better. There's no reason for them to do better. Like, I hate making excuses. I'm not saying I don't expect perfection, but they expect perfection from you.
I just think most of the time these raids are usually for drugs, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And I just don't know if drugs are important enough to risk that. Like, I just don't know. Like, if you're trying to get a violent criminal, I just think these home raids need to be so few and far between. Like, when there's no other, like, that's your very last resort, man. Because it's just too much that can go wrong. This has happened time. This is not something that happens once every 3 years. This happens all the time. We don't always hear about it. It happens all the time. And that sister, what was Breonna Taylor, I believe it was. That's pretty much what happened with them. And of course, if you try to defend yourself because you don't know that's the law enforcement, somebody kicking in your door. If you're armed and you bust back, now you in more trouble.
You're dead.
Mm-hmm. That too.
There's that.
I guess I was sugarcoating it.
And so you want everybody benefits from you doing the right thing and not making mistakes.
And I think, Razi, if you have something like this, I think law enforcement would be more diligent and make sure they have everything right. Like, they won't, because sometimes they rely on witness statements. Like, yeah, that's his house right there, whatever like that. Like, do some stakeouts. Make sure that, like, go a week or 2 ahead of time. Make sure that is the house. Don't just go off word of mouth.
Market. Yeah. Put a marker on it, like something like it's just like it's night, it's dark. They look the same.
That's exactly what we used to have to do in country, right? Like, I did a lot of med caps in CA missions, right, where people used to laugh at us about passing out beanie babies and blankets and stuff. But literally, what we were doing is we were just being there, making everybody look at us, while the special forces or a ranger team were out looking at houses like, oh, that's the one, we're marking that one, that's the one we're raiding. And 2 days
And
later
they'll
they
put
go,
something on
yeah,
there
they'll
to
put something on
identify,
it,
like they
and
look
they
for that
know
mark.
that's the house that we got to raid. Yeah, like we literally used to have to do that's part of CA. That's part of my job to be able to do that. I get that. What I'm saying is, like Ferg said, it's maybe it's that where, oh, we got stock compensation. If we raid your house incorrectly, here's what you get, right? Versus you can go out and sue us for it. So I'm fine with like some compensation versus,
Okay.
it's like, oh, you're going to sue us and we're going to do, pain and suffering, and, oh, I hurt you. And so,
But it needs to be levels to it. It needs to be levels to it, because the thing about it is, think about it, you have 2 young kids in the house who've had enough trauma in their
or
life.
grandma, and you
Somebody
break her hip,
bust.
pulling her out.
No, you have two young kids in your house that have been through enough trauma. Imagine somebody breaking your house, pointing a gun at Ali and Sophie.
That's gonna be hard to get over right
They
there.
don't need any more. And then they supposed to trust the police and all this stuff. And the daddy was like, "Well, here's $25,000." Like there's pain and suffering, and I think it might be levels to it. I'm the same way when it comes to police brutality, accidental shootings, whatever the case may be. Hey, I'm not saying you're racist. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm saying you killed an unarmed person. You made a mistake, and there should be a consequence. That's in the military. There's rules of engagement. There's things that happen when you do the wrong thing. It's just that simple, and people have to stop covering up for it.
Let's have each case individually looked at when this happens, and what was the intel that you relied on. And I think that would be a huge determining factor on what type of intel you relied on, and what did you do to ensure that this is where the suspect lived. And if you can't show those things, then yeah, some punishment needs to be coming down.
We didn't damn near turn this into a question.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, that's all I got. That's all I got. What you got, Ferg? What you got?
So my thing is, man, I think you're the only true person that has a basketball team here.
Heat.
You are a Miami Heat fan. I rock with the Rockets because I'm here in Houston. I've been a LeBron fan his whole career.
Today, by the way.
Say again? Oh yeah, I'm wearing a Houston some Houston gear later today. But I'm a LeBron fan, and for the Lakers to have lost in 5, them young boys. Hey, first of all, the West was tough this year. I mean, these differences between 2 through 7, it was minuscule.
I believe the Lakers were a 3 seed and the Timberwolves were a 6, and the Lakers literally won like one more game than the Timberwolves did.
Yes, that's how it is. I think Rockets won 53 games or something like that. No, Rockets won. If the Lakers won 50, I think the Timberwolves might have like 48, and the Rockets won 51. It was like a 1 game, 2 game between them. The only person that was a clear was OKC.
Yeah.
But I say all to say, man, I've never seen LeBron look so dejected after a series, and I'm fearful that we might have seen the last of LeBron, and I hate that. He has to go out like this. I think that man, if not the best, he is one of the best we've ever seen. And to have to endure the hatred that comes with that, the visceral attack on his ability, his career, his accomplishments is, I wish we talk about giving people their flowers. That man has had a long hated career, and I hope that that's not the way he goes out. I want to see him one more time. I hope if he plays another year, I will make an earnest attempt to go see him play. I think he deserves a farewell tour, kind of how Kobe did, where the fans get to maybe that last year appreciate his greatness.
Yeah.
Because he's trash, the flop.
I think LeBron has passed that though. Like, you got to think, Kobe retired near his prime on the downswing, right? But it's we saw like some of the greats when they go too far. Michael Jordan did the same thing, right? When he went back to the Wizards. I think LeBron has gotten long in the tooth, and LeBron has kind of overstayed that ability to be able to say, hey, here's my farewell tour. I'm gonna play for another season just to let everybody know that I'm retiring, right? I think it's time for him to retire. I really do. I mean, he's great, but is he still doing things beyond what some of the other folks can do?
Yeah, he is. Like, have you watched him play? Like the dude, like he's still phenomenal. Like it's just, I mean, is he the best player in the league right
Right.
now? No. I mean, the youth has a lot to do with it. But I mean, he's still putting up numbers. He still has just spurts of greatness. You know, it's not that many players outside of just being young that are that much better than him.
I was gonna say I definitely think he deserves a farewell season. Like he's done so much for the league. He's an incredible player and athlete. I would like to see him. You know, I don't want it to be like this where we find out after the season's over that that was his last season. Like I think we should know ahead of time, and he gets his flowers all around the league, and because he is a lot of people's goat.
Mm-hmm.
Not my goat, but he is a lot of
Right.
people's goat. And as a Michael Jordan apologist, when Rozzy says, you know, Jordan stayed too long, look at his time at the Wizards. He did look bad with the Wizards, but just keep in mind he averaged 21 and 6 with the Wizards.
Yeah, the Wizards were suck. The Wizards just suck.
Yeah.
If you look at what these players that are getting $200 million contracts are averaging, like
Exactly.
Jordan sucked compared to Bulls Jordan.
Right. Well, and that's what I mean.
you-
I think that's what I kind of mean. It's like, and same with LeBron, right? He's still a great, and he's still like top 20, top 25 in the league, right? But it's because you're going to compare him to his prime. You're going to compare him to those best days. It's like I think you tarnish your legacy a little bit by doing that. So it's not necessarily can he still contribute? It's more so do you want to kind of walk away at the prime, at the pinnacle, or very soon after, or do you want to see this slow kind of okay, you need to let it go? Like when people start saying you need to let it go, you've stayed too long in your respective sport.
Let's give him one more season though.
I don't think people are saying he needs, because
He balled.
I mean, you had a lot of people believing that they would meet OKC or somebody in the Western Conference Finals. 2 weeks ago, they were high favorites. Like, so let's not act like he didn't make it to the playoffs and stuff like that. It was just the West is tough.
And they had Luka.
There was a lot of rebuilding of the team, and they got outplayed.
And they had Luka.
And they had Luke. Yeah, they got outplayed. Despite all this, and we'll move on, is if I look at LeBron's last season, take the playoffs out of it, the Stephen A stuff, the Bronny James stuff, all that stuff. That's not how I want him to. I want him to enjoy his last.
Gotcha.
If I want him to be able to embrace Steph Curry the last time they meet, right? Trade jerseys. I want him to be able to enjoy, and fans to be able to enjoy the last time he comes to Houston, you know, and he can get a standing ovation and walk off the court, because he deserves that. The NBA that we talk about today, I would say in the last 20 years, he's definitely one of the most impactful players, especially the financial route. Like, he made it okay for players to dictate how they want to move and shake. Nobody did. They talk about the decision a lot. People weren't doing that. Braun made it possible for people to really go in there, big name stars, and create, like, this is what we're gonna do. Because they blocked it a lot of times beforehand. Well, I think who was the Clippers trying to get they were trying to put a dream team together with Chris Paul and a couple other people.
That was the Lakers. The Lakers were supposed to get Chris Paul. He wound up going to the Clippers.
Okay. And so it was things like that. LeBron was one of the first players I remember that took his talent, took his name, knew his worth, and maybe I'm going to move around, move and shake. Was able to get D Wade and Chris Bosh and develop that Miami team. That's a lot. Players are making money like that. Players are figuring out where they want to go. Love or hate Kevin Durant, he's able to move the way he moved because of the things LeBron did. You will look at Kyrie, all these players who are moving around, Harden, they're moving around. They're able to do that because of what LeBron did. And I want him to be able to go out with a bang. I want Stephen A to be able to have a final interview with him or something like that. Like, look, man, I know we didn't always see eye to eye, and but I always respect you. I want you to enjoy this. Because I feel like Stephen A, no matter whatever they went through the season, respects him as a basketball player. in the last interaction, because there is a video of Stephen A. laughing his off because they lost in the first round. But I think he deserves that. I don't think every player deserves that, but I think to be arguably one of the top players ever, you deserve that. So that's it. Because we've been dragging it on. We ain't even made to a question yet.
Right.
Razi, feel free not to give us a question, a joke. Dang.
It's all good. Are you gracing us with a joke?
Yes.
Sir?
Yes.
Feel free not to give us one.
No, I got one. I think it's good. What brand of underwear do scientists wear?
Smarty pants. No, scientists.
Calvin Klein. That's a good one. Oh, back to the classics.
You know what?
Back to the classics.
You know what? Though I can see some science nerds like really getting
No.
really?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
I can see that, man. Like really getting a kick out of it.
Nothing like a good pun, man. You know, got to get a punny dad joke. That's what they're there for. So. Who's up first? Who got first question?
I got a unique question, man.
You didn't get a question last time. So yeah, last week.
Right. So I already asked Tabitha this and got her input on it. I'm just curious to hear what y'all input is on it. So it's a unique question because I'm actually reading it. There's a section in the newspaper for new listeners. Byron reads the newspaper, by the way. But there's a section. Well, no, most of the time I'm at work. But there's a section where people write in to someone to get advice or answer a question for them. And this is one of the questions that I wanted to bring to you two brothers and see who's right, wrong, or what you would have done differently. So here's the question. My husband of 10 years, who is retired, calls me at work one morning and tells me he had just gotten out of the shower when our female next door neighbor rang the doorbell in her night clothes, stating that she got locked out when she took out the trash. My husband then says he invited her in to use the phone and stay until someone let her in, which was about 30 to 45 minutes. I asked him, why would you invite a half-dressed woman into our home when I'm not present? He could have helped her by offering his cell phone and a robe while she sat on the porch. I asked him to present this situation to his male friends, and he responded, yeah, they would say you're stupid for even sharing that with your wife. I'm very disappointed with how he handled this situation. He says he would do it again exactly the same way, even if it upsets me, and says I am insecure. Any suggestions? So,
Get you insecure. I don't know what to tell you.
So since you started rising, go ahead. Is the wife insecure? Was the husband wrong? Should he be more sensitive to the wife's feelings?
He probably should have told her then that it was happening. Like maybe text or call or something. Like, hey, this is the situation, just so you know. But he's not wrong. And I can't remember. I think we were having a conversation about like walking women to the car, you know, or taking them home and everything like that. And Ferg made the comment, we're the men you want to marry, right? Like we're the men that you want to be in a relationship with. We are the men that protect womanhood and protect women, right? The same reason you're with us is the same reason why I would let her in and come sit on this couch and not sit on the porch while she waits on the locksmith or whatever, right? Like I'm gonna take care of her just like I would. And if you don't trust me to be in a room with a half naked lady, don't let me go to the strip club either. Then, right? Like my thing is, I can control myself, right? Like if I wanted to cheat with her, I could cheat with her. That's my whole mentality on it anyway. Or you know, and especially if she wanted me, if I was gonna cheat, I wouldn't have told you about it, right? Like there's no reason for me to tell you about the situation after the fact if I'm planning on cheating. So she is 100% insecure. Maybe he could have did it a little bit better with the communication, telling her about it. But other than that, I'm with him. I would have did it again. I would have done the same thing.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything Razi said. We'll check. I'll figure out if when I listen to the show later. But I'm with Razi, and I'm glad he brought up what I said earlier or previously. Is what kind of man would I be? You marry. There's certain characteristics about me that attracted you, right? The fact that I'm going to protect you. I do care about other people, that I'm at my heart of hearts a good person. As you were reading it, Byron, and hearing what the wife wanted, I instantly thought of I could see Chappelle making a skit about it. Like, here you go. Like I could see him like tossing a cell phone and a robe out, whoo, almost got me. Like it's comical to think about the situation that this wife, not all women, created in her head. Well, she probably locked herself out on purpose and yada yada yada. Like, it's just, if that happened to my wife, what would I want? I would want, I wouldn't be, and sometimes I don't understand you being, I don't think you have to be happy about it. I think it just could be one of those situations like I'm a little upset, but I'm okay being upset. Like, you just have to be okay being upset. Like, if that happened, because I'd be mad at Z, like, how'd you get locked out of the house? Yada, 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 yada. But yet and still, and you went in this dude's house but you're safe. Nothing happened. How did this happen? And for the wife, it's the same thing. It's like, well, how did she get locked out of the house? Why would, But at the end of the day, my husband's a good person who's not going to leave a woman stranded outside in her bathrobe, and when we said lingerie or
like night clothes,
Well,
probably like
night
yeah,
clothes.
said
PJs,
night
yeah.
clothes. Yeah.
Yeah, and he told me about it. He doesn't have to tell me about it. Now, what would have been, what she could have, I could see her potentially getting mad is a neighbor sees her the next day as she's taking out the trash and we're like, that was a joke because women don't take out trash. Is
Saw Miss Parker at your house yesterday.
Yeah, like, hey, tell Byron thank you for letting me in the other day when I got locked out. What do you mean to let you in? Yeah, I got locked out, and that's the other thing. Yeah, like, yeah, he didn't tell you I got locked out. I was in my little thing. I had my little cute little onesie on and all this stuff, and he told you. He told you for a reason. And it reminds me of those, I would say those are you freaking serious moments. Because I think as men, those are probably some of the worst arguments or the most irritating situations when you're like, how did this even become an argument? Like, how do we even get here? Like, you're mad at me for her getting locked out the house and me telling you that I let her use the phone and wait on somebody so she can get in. Like, you're mad at me? Like, to me, that would have been the argument, not the neighbor. It's the fact that how did this become an argument? And I think it is some insecurity around these imaginative stories that sometimes people can come up with. I'm thinking like you create a scenario in your head that's not even there. It's not even close to being real. And you let that upset you. It's similar to, we've seen the jokes and stuff like that where a wife will have a dream about you cheating or something like that and wake up mad. It's like, bitch, that was a dream. Like, nothing. You created a scenario in your head and you're mad at me because of the dream. You're mad at me because of what? I don't know what else he could have done differently outside, like he said, call her like, hey, just let you know, Mary from next door got locked out. She's in the house right now, and she's going to be here until somebody come get her. Because he didn't have to tell her she was in her night clothes and any of that stuff. And I'm with the friends, like, it's almost, and that was a perfect answer. It's like, they mad at me for telling you, because they know where this is going to go. They know this is problematic, which is probably more problematic. The fact that most men are like, man, your wife going to trip out. Not because you're wrong, just because she's going to trip out and feel like she has the right to get mad at whatever she wants to get mad at. But I'm a firm believer. You can get mad at what you want to get mad at, but also be willing to deal with the I'm not going to say the consequences. Be willing to deal with what comes after it. So you're coming in thinking you're about to do this, and the conversation is going one way. But be prepared when I come back and say that's now I'm pissed. Come on, Razzie.
So the responder pretty much is. So I'm gonna read part of what the newspaper lady said, and then I'll give my take. But I think she's kind of aligned with you two guys. She said, "Your husband is retired and home. You are employed and at work. If your husband wanted to cheat on you, he would hardly need to wait for an opportunity to come knocking in her nightie. There are a lot of people out there, okay? Me, but I can't be alone in this, who would be horrified if spouse's response to a nighty neighbor in need were to strand said neighbor on the front porch. Have you ever been caught in public in your skivvies? Offering shelter is a compassionate thing to do. And a 45 minutes of shelter didn't cost you anything, okay? Not unless it led to your imagined mistrust. And if it did lead to that, then that says your distress over this incident is misplaced. It's your marriage that needs your full attention and sustained attention. It's a little bit more to that, but pretty much she's saying,
Dang.
if he wanted to cheat,
That
he got
nigga-
all day.
Yeah,
He got
every
he got to
day.
wait for this neighbor to come knocking on his door.
Every day. She might interfere with some of his regular chick.
Here's what I'll say, man. I'm in a space now to where I kind of, unless I have to, I kind of don't like to say who's wrong and who's right. Here's what I say. I think for people who don't have cheating on their mind whatsoever, like that's just not on their mind, he's just looking to help his neighbor. Saw absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like he's literally, like you two said, look, somebody's in need. If it was the other way around, like Ferg, you said, if it was Z, if it was your spouse, you would want someone to help them in a situation like that. I also kind of wonder if the wife is kind of embellishing a little bit because she says she was half dressed, but she was in her night clothes. I know people who take the trash out of the night clothes, but it's usually fully dressed. I don't know anybody who takes the trash out in lingerie. You know what I mean? So I don't know if she was embellishing a little bit there. But nevertheless, I think I definitely, you got to know who you're married to also. I think would have been reasonable was, you know, maybe offer her cell phone to call somebody. If you got a porch, you know, if she is half dressed, offer her some clothes. Y'all sit outside on the front porch or whatever until her help arrives. I feel like he did have to tell his wife. I know the friends are saying that he's stupid for telling his wife. You got neighbors. Once neighbors get to talking, you don't want your wife to hear it first from a neighbor or from herself, like you said, like, hey, tell your husband thanks for letting me in the house yesterday while I had my skivvies on or whatever. So I think that was cool, but I just think look at the larger picture. Is your wife always accusing you? Is she always insecure about every little thing? That's one thing. If she's always insecure about every little thing, then yeah, I see having an aggressive response to like, yo, you tripping, you bugging. This is always an issue with you. But if your wife is, for the most of the time, it's very reasonable, you know, doesn't accuse you of anything, but she happened to trip on this is your marriage. I don't see, especially with him saying he would do it the exact same way again, knowing how his wife feels. I just, I'm not saying anybody's right or wrong, but in my marriage, if my wife has a problem with something and I think she's reasonable in having that problem, I'm not going to put some neighbor over my wife. If that's how you feel, cool. I'll try to handle it a different way if that ever happens again next time. But I'm not gonna tell you, yo, get over it because, you know, you have to put yourself in a situation where are you okay with her letting a guy in the house when she just got out the shower and he stays for 45 minutes and she tells you later, doesn't tell you at all. Like if you're okay with that, then yeah, your answer can be you would do it the same way. But if you feel in a certain kind of way because another man was in your house for almost an hour while you wasn't there, and I get it. Yes, he's retired. He could cheat anyway, any other time, but still, the opportunity was right then, and that's what she's addressing. And I can understand her feeling that way. I just think it's just some communication that need to be had on their part.
And I agree with it. I can understand her feeling that way, but I think there's sometimes you have to sit with your feelings, if that makes sense. Like if like you say, you know who you married.
Right,
Do
right.
I want my wife, a man in the house with my? Nobody wants that, right? Like I just joke. Like if I could put Z in a box somewhere in a corner where nobody ever had to see and I have to worry about her, I would. But that's not life. We don't have a rule book or a playbook. If the neighbor locks herself out of the house, this is his thing. Because when I look at it, sometimes I remember when Z and I first started dating, and there were things that when she had more insecurities, that's like I never want anybody to look at you as insecure because I think this too shall pass, right? I want people to see because I know what I'm doing or not doing. Your insecurities have nothing to do with me right now. Those are your insecurities, and that we're going to work through together, right? And so I don't want anybody to have to think that see this version of you that's not really you. It's just something you're going through, because you're sitting out on the front porch. You're making all these things, or like, oh, I can't let you in because my wife, no, oh, really? That's how Z is? Like, and that's not the type of person she is, especially not today. So it's like, you have to have faith in me as like I have faith in you, and realize this was one-off situations that nobody prepares for. There's not a playbook on neighbor getting locked out of the house. How do you do it? Oh, execute play 42. The cop, you walking in, like, I'm getting, where you going? Like, stop this. She can't even walk in the door, my cell phone, hey, just come in, have a seat, here's a robe or whatever the case may be. You got here's the phone, all this stuff. And you're just to the point where I want to, like, man, I got locked out of the day. Z's husband, Tabitha's husband, Byron, man, he's such a great dude. Like, and when you speak about him, you're speaking about her, right? Like, that's the type dude Tabitha is married to. Tabitha has created or shaped, or, like, it's those. I'm a firm believer a lot of our actions people see together, right? I'm a representation of you, vice versa. And so when you're looking at that, because you've seen people where, like, they have to act a certain way around their wife or a certain way around their husband and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's kind of like, well, you gotta be.
Why you so quiet, bro? Why you so quiet?
Yeah, like, it's. I want people like to be able to look at me and see Z, right? I want them to be able to, like, yeah, man. She hell, maybe even the neighbor wouldn't let her husband do it, but it's something about this guy that's a good guy.
So I read part of the answer. I just want to read the dismount. This isn't even I just thought this paragraph was just, and it still adds to you and Rosie's point of view too. She said, in other words, if you trust your husband not to boink the neighbor only if she doesn't ask to use your phone, then you can't call that much of a marriage. Believing your husband is just one robe away from cheating is, yes, insecurity.
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
Yeah,
that was a hell of a dismount, right?
Yeah. He's like you said, he's retired. He's home every day, all day. She might have interfered with his normal tryst.
He probably was more annoyed. Like, damn, this was a good episode of Judge Judy on.
Yeah, man. I had the other neighbor coming over. Like, and the thing about it is, if there is a history of infidelity, I don't think there is a right or wrong situation. Like, when your husband is very opportunistic, the neighbor is known to be flirtatious or something like that, or you've had a problem with her flirting with him in the past, and all of a sudden he's retired, and yeah, but if we're gonna give your marriage the benefit of the doubt that you're not a great marriage, y'all been together, he's retired, so I'm assuming both of you guys are older, and you're married for a while. Things like that shouldn't affect your marriage. And no, I would never jeopardize my marriage for the neighbor. But once again, her actions speak more about her and a problem we have than the neighbor. It's like, it's the insecurities or the trust or whatever. Because every time I don't want you to do that comes up, that's how I win. That's how I win. I just tell Byron I don't want him to do that. It's versus, I don't want you to go to the store. I don't want you wearing a tank top. I don't want you, like, I don't, your arms out. You know how people talk about your arms all this. Like, nigga, like, be easy. At some point, you just gotta realize life is life. And that was a good one. That was an interesting one.
So as Rosie rejoins
again,
I don't know how much airtime, like empty time we got. Do we have time for one more question? Did you have one for?
Yeah,
we have no idea what the timing is on, but let's go on.
Yeah, let's get one more in.
All right. So I have a question. I think maybe it'll be a quick question. I never get to say that. Joe Budden has a podcast, and he was reading a letter about this, similar to your story, Byron, where this young lady was asking, was her father overreacting? Essentially, she has her birthday party, her 27th birthday party, and her boyfriend, friends, and some of her family members are there, including her father and mother. The boyfriend picked up a birthday cake, and the birthday cake said, "Happy birthday, best ever." And the father and mother left, and the daughter hit the dad up the next day, like, I think that was very rude of you leaving and stuff like that. And he's like, how did you expect me to react? And she's like, you always be my little girl. And I just felt like that was a lack of respect. And she's like, I'm 27, dad, da 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 da. And you overreact. It's like, you know what? We'll talk about this later. And she's like, there's nothing to talk about. Did the father overreact? What is the daughter not seeing? Well, how would you have reacted as a father?
Are you 27 or are you 17?
Right.
Because that sounds more like the move that a 17-year-old would make. Because you're not even that young. Like, you're close to 30.
You're close to having kids yourself, right?
She kept saying that it was a joke, Dad. It was a joke.
Okay. Well, listen, I will stick with my nobody's right or wrong, but I think that was incredibly stupid. It's not even a good joke. It's not even a good gag. It's not a good joke. The people who are coming to the party, right? And like, for me, it's crazy. I think we all share this in a way. When my mom was here, I'm in my 30s, 40. I still wouldn't, or at the very least would be hesitant to even use profanity around her. I'm a grown man with my own mortgage, man, and it's still just that. It's just that respect level, man. And I'm not saying everybody has to have that, but that's definitely, like, to me, that sounds like a young person. That's one of those I'm gonna do it because I can type moves. Like, yeah, okay, you're 27. Yeah, you can go do that. You can do that. But like Ferg said in his previous answer, everything has a reaction to actions. So yeah, you can do that. But I also can say, okay, this is beyond stupid. I'm offended. I'm out. Happy birthday, baby girl. It just seems real stupid. And now I want to question more about the boyfriend and the type of person he is. Is this somebody that she should be with long term? And the fact that she co-signing it, like, what the hell wrong with you? So, but that's way over there. We're just talking about the cake right now, and I'm not with it.
For me, he underreacted.
What he should have did, Roger?
I'll be damned if DeMarcus, right, like Haley's boyfriend, brought a cake that said best ever. Like,
But she's not 27 though, Razi.
She's 23, and even though
okay, 4 years from now,
4 years from now,
maybe it'll change in 40 years.
That's even worse, right? Like Buff said, like, she's acting like she's 17, 18. My thing is, they do these viral meme, like, TikTok things where they'll do jokes like that to embarrass or disrespect, and then see, they do it where they walk up to people in grocery stores and stuff and like knock stuff out of their hand and everything, see how people react. Like, if they were doing that, they would get a reaction from it. It would make a nice TikTok. They probably get a lot of views in it because I would have cussed him to out. Like, you're not even on some disrespecting my daughter, because I can see myself getting Leah a cake like that, right? Like, for us by ourselves, me just getting her, like, what I'm saying, babe, exactly. Ha, we can laugh with each other about that. You disrespected me, right? That's, I think, where I would approach him and, like, just pin him up about that, right? Like, no, you're not gonna come and disrespect me and my daughter in my face like that. You're playing in my face. And so that's really what I'm more mad about. Because y'all 27, like the daughter said, we fucking daddy. I know y'all. That's okay. Cool. Y'all have that conversation there. But it's the respect level that you talked about, Byron. You're disrespecting me, right? You're bringing that in. You knew I was going to be here, and you knew that there was probably going to be some reaction from that, right? And I could probably see that it was a joke, right? But my first reaction is going to be like, I need to make sure it's a joke. So I'm going to press you on this to make sure that this is a joke. You playing, because you playing in my face. And so I'm heated just thinking about that happening right now. Like, no, you're not going to do that. And so, and then her to double down when she called him the next day or whatever, my initial reaction would be to Haley or Sophie or anybody would be, like you said, Buff, you knew I was going to react that way. You probably knew I was going to react that way. And so that makes me question the daughter, or whether the dad was really, like, serious about that. Because, like, most of our daughters probably know that we would react that way, and we're going to go off and you're not going to disrespect us like that.
But she's 27. She's grown now, Razi.
she's grown, but like Bo said, I don't curse in front of my mama. If I cuss, I'm like ducking because I know she might hit me, right? Like, and not on no like she can beat me up type thing. It's just like I respect her enough to let her hit me if I cuss around her, right? Like I respect her. That's just respect. I'm not gonna do that, and we might do a little sexual innuendo around her or whatever, because my mom's like, okay, I'm glad y'all have a healthy sexual relationship, right? But there's a difference of that and just flat out disrespect. And I felt like that's disrespect. And yeah, he would have had to see me that day, right there. That cake might have been in his face. Like that's how. Uh.
So yeah, I'm with both of y'all. I'm kind of with Risey. Maybe the dad underreacted, but more than anything, you said everything I felt about the cake. For me, two things that I really want to stress on is I would be disappointed in my daughter and almost feel like where did I fail as a dad for her to think this is okay? Because this is a representation of you. I'm not worried about you disrespecting me because you're some 27-year-old nigga I can give two shits about, right? But this is a representation of you. And then him, how does he feel about you? Even kind of in our last answer, but I was talking about us representing each other, right? I'm so carefree or don't care about you enough or don't respect you enough where I'm this joke. Maybe it's cute in their circle, but best ever. That's embarrassing. That shows like not my queen, not the best woman ever, the love of my life. This is how I choose to describe you. This is how I see you. And maybe it's deeper than that. Maybe it's a joke, but I would never put you in a situation where I would want others to even think for a second that's how I view you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah, they're 27. I don't remember me at 27, but I would never disrespect anybody I'm with like that. Like that's disrespectful to her. She found it as a joke. He thought it was funny enough. And like you said, maybe it's behind closed doors. That's our sense of humor. That's a little thing we got going on. But I would never put that out in public, right? Because that represents you and represents me.
Right. Lady in the street,
And
freak in the sheets, right?
Yeah, and then the daughter, like, baby, you allow this? Like, I would think you'd be mortified. Like, how dare you? Like, that's our thing. Maybe you're right. But that's our thing, right? Why would you put this out in front of my friends, my dad, my mom's here, my aunt's here, my little sisters? Like, what? And I'm pretty sure everybody at the party didn't laugh. There's no way 100%. And dad was the only person like, come on, Bill, get over it. Like it's other people had to cringe. I'm like, I guess everybody laughing, I guess. Like, wow. And it's like, where did I fail that my daughter's allowing somebody to represent her like this? And that she's making choices like this on the type men she's dealing with. Because I hope she had brothers, because that's my thing. It's like, really? That's how you gonna approach my sister? And so those are the things I was thinking is, and most of the people on the show were, that's just disrespectful. Joe Budden, of course, like, well, kind of like, but I'm not saying anybody's wrong or right, but I think it was a joke. I'm like, maybe it was a joke, but all jokes aren't meant to be put out there. It's almost like, you want to hear a racist joke? Like, you got to look around, right? Like, that was one of those situations where you had to look around and look at your audience. Mm-hmm. And this is not the audience that have that. Maybe that was an inside joke that, man, Risey, dog, I'm just saying, dog. And I told you when we first met, like, man, she got me whipped. And so now that's a joke that, just a few of us know about, like, Z had Fergus wrong from day one. That's the joke. The few people that know about it. So if it's just me, you, and her, a few people around, but the public, nah, buddy.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah. It's refinement, right? Like I talk to my kids a lot about like society will judge you. Everything, right? First impressions, in making an impression, like being refined. I talk a lot about, Wu always talks about, I told him he has no tact, right? It's that. It's knowing when to do things in certain situations. And
that wasn't a situation.
I agree with you on that whole, I didn't train my daughter. Like I feel like I failed, right? That my daughter would allow that to happen because that wasn't the situation for that to happen. And you're taking that way over the top. And that's coming from us, right? That we put a lot of stuff on the podcast. That coming from me, that I say what comes to mind a lot of times, right? But I do have some tact. I know when to say things and when not to. I can code switch, right? Like I know what situations. I sent you guys the video, right, about like how I turn that nigga dial up, right? And it's like, oh, I'm gonna be 7% black right now, or 70%. Like I'm gonna turn it up to a 7. I'm gonna turn it to a 10, right? It's that where I gotta know how sexual I'm gonna be, right, and everything. I'm not gonna do that at work. I'm not gonna do that in front of my parents, but I can do it, with maybe, like you say, my closer friends, and that might have went over in our circle where we talk about sex and everything like that a lot. And so, okay, this 5-6 people we were at somewhere and I had that cake and it would have been a joke and it would have went over well, right? And so you just got to know the situation, and bringing that in front of your parents is not the situation. And I would have checked them on it.
I don't think it's just parents. I think it's others. I think any like
Yeah, that's true.
you don't present the person you're with that way to the outside.
Right.
Like I don't care. You can have a sexual relationship and you're like, hey, we still gets it in. We joke about that stuff all the time. But yet and still, like there's certain things I'm not going to say about my wife for the public to see or to hear, right? Like that's not for everybody to see. But hey, it is what it is.
To each their own.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and close it on out, fellas.
I'll go before my internet craps out on me. So, only thing I really want to say, man, I've been getting a whole lot of questions about the market, and people like DMing me saying, hey, should I still be invested in my 4K? Should I still be invested in my, TSP? Should I be putting money in the market? And I was actually going to ask a question about this, but I'll kind of give a little bit of what I'm responding back to these people with, just so everybody knows it. And then maybe we can
hit it up next week.
We'll hit it up, like go deep dive into it next week. But what I will tell you guys is, yes, you should still be contributing to your 401k. You should still be contributing to your TSP. Do not stop investing in a downturn market. It's called dollar cost averaging. That's exactly what you want to do. You want to buy it now while it's low and while it's going low, and you want to keep buying it. So then as it goes back up, you have money invested in it. So yes, please, please, please don't stop investing. Don't stop putting money away. Now, what you invest in may be different. That is where you may want to talk to somebody about that, have a conversation about it. We'll go a little bit deeper next week on it. I'll kind of talk about some of the strategies that I'm using, what I've done there. But I definitely want you guys to keep investing. Do not invest. It's about time in the market. It's not about when you actually jump in and out of the market. And so we want that money to go into the market. You need to be investing. That's how you prepare for retirement. Now is the time to buy. It's not the time to, be kind of worried and stop investing. So just want to throw that out there, man. Other than that, happy Mother's Day. As we will drop this episode Monday, but we won't drop another episode before Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And so we'll see you guys next week. That's all I got.
Man, let me echo that, by the way. Happy Mother's Day to all the ladies out there who are holding it down, being the great moms that you are.
What about the single fathers?
I don't do that. Okay. I don't do that. Your day is coming, don't fathers. So I had a lot of fun with this last week. Apparently, there are a lot of people who think 100 unarmed men could win a fight against one silverback gorilla, including our dearly beloved Orazio. And while I will say that I am sticking with the gorilla, I will say Van Lathan came up with probably one of the best strategies that I've heard. He was like, look, we got to have 5 waves. The first 20, I forgot exactly the order, but he was like, the first 20 needs to be like big, husky, burly men. The second wave needs to be like athletic, Noah Lyles, Lamar Jackson type people that can just distract the gorilla just by running around. He was like, whoever the first 20 is, they not they gonna have to accept that they not coming back. But the second 20, the athletic sprinters, they're gonna distract the gorilla, like whatever. Then you got your MM fighters and all that. I think the fourth wave was like just a bunch of strong cock diesel guys, and I forgot what the fifth wave was, but he had a whole strategy.
Morticians.
I don't think it's gonna work. I still think at the end of the day, the gorilla is still beating his chest and getting ready for breakfast. But hey, I thought it was a really cool strap. But man, it was some funny. Listen, that is why that conversation was why I fell in love with Twitter. Just all the varying opinions and things like that. It was extremely funny on both sides. And of course, there's always one that got to turn it serious. One user said, "This exposes toxic masculinity and why they think they." We was like, "Can you just shut up? Can we have
just
this?
have
Can
fun.
we
Just
just
have fun.
please?"
Speaking of toxic masculinity, my question now is, ladies, would you rather be stuck in the forest with
Bear.
100 men, a bear, 100 men, or a gorilla? So I guess because, I mean, the equation obviously is one bear is less than one man is less than 100 men, which is less than one gorilla. Like there's a whole, like, because, I mean, there's men are more dangerous than a bear, right? Apparently.
That's what they say.
Yeah, well,
Right? But 100 men can't take on a gorilla. So there's a whole, somebody has to do the math for me. I got to figure out the bear to a man to a gorilla equation.
And I just want to say, animal experts have said that men should be able to take it. 100 men should be able to take a gorilla. They probably won't because of flight or flight. And a lot of those men aren't going to actually get in there and fight.
I need to vet those experts because the experts I follow have said no. Listen.
Have you seen a gorilla fight a gorilla? I think that's what you need to go look at, Razi. Because there's nothing that I've seen a man do that a gorilla. I think that's what you need to do. Like, so watch this.
Razi said we could gouge his eyes. Like, I guess the gorilla just go sit there and say, "Come."
No. Like I said, we're going to have a whole lot of losses. It's going to be heavy attrition. Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? He only has two hands and a bite, and then somebody jump on his back, gouge his eyes out. Like you gotta...
A blind gorilla is less dangerous. A recently blinded gorilla who is in panic and full just fury is like,
it's so hilarious.
He gonna tap out.
Look, man, that's hilarious.
That's the last thing you need to do. Is piss him off.
What we got to do? We're gonna have to get a zoo animal expert on here one day just to have fun with this question.
Yeah.
But listen, man, we've been talking a lot about how we want the Democrats to fight. And I just want the left to know, because I've witnessed it firsthand. In the Senate, they are fighting. We've been staying late on weekdays in the Senate where they are pointing out, like Senator Chris Murphy literally has an entire flow chart of all the corrupt, just criminal things that he is accusing this Trump administration of doing. Everybody's been giving speeches on it. And my question is, are you paying attention? Have you been watching? Because this is part of what fighting looks like. And I just wonder, when people say they want the Dems to fight, are they really saying, hey, we just want y'all to figure out, which is much more difficult, because you can't predict how this country especially is going to respond to certain talking points and things and how they will vote, because there was no reason for 70 plus million people to vote for this man in the first place. Yet they did. So I just want to let people know the Dems are fighting. They are fighting. And are you paying attention? Are you doing your part? Are you helping spread the word? Are you donating? Because it takes money to fight. Are you donating? Or are you just sitting back Monday morning quarterbacking saying they need to fight with no real suggestions on how?
We're doing that one. That's the easy one.
And last but not least, man, speaking of the Trump administration, I just want everybody to know they just recently cut $1 billion from the budget that went towards helping students whose schools suffered mass shootings, helping with the therapy and everything with that, the gun violence that a lot of these schools are facing. So there will no longer be funding for, or at least it'll be $1 billion short of funding for helping students navigate, like kids in Uvalde, kids at Sandy Hook, kids at all these schools that have had mass shootings, and even kids that haven't had experience it. They were helping young people with that. And that's been cut from the budget because I guess it was kind of included in some type of DEI program. So I just want people to know DEI does not automatically mean black.
No, it was woke, bro. It was woke. So I think they get woke and being alive confused. Like, I don't know. Like, it's It's crazy.
And trauma is so like you guys can speak to it by being in a war zone way more than I can. But I always tell people January 6th, I didn't come face to face with not one protester, right? Even though I was there that day, I didn't come to face with any of them. Largely thanks to Eugene Goodman. Shout out to Eugene Goodman. But talking about that day sometimes, there have been times I talked about that day where tears have come from my eyes. And we're talking, and like we have many officers that were in hand to hand combat with these people. I can't even imagine what they feel like. I didn't even come face to face, but because I was there and had that heightened sense of danger and just literally thinking about, I thought about my life insurance that day, bro. Like, I'm like, damn, this is the day I'm finally going to have to pull my weapon and shoot somebody. And that's without even facing them. So imagine being a kid at a school who's had a shooting that they actually
safe place
firsthand witnessed,
and you're a trained officer,
right? And you're taking away that asset from them. I just think it's deplorable, man. But just wanted to put that out there and let people know.
But they're closing the border and raising tariffs. I mean, you should feel good about that.
Yeah. So that's all I got, man.
Roger, what you got?
Oh, I went with that 401k.
Yeah, my bad. So I'll make mine short. Speaking of Trump, on a brighter note, next time you guys come in Houston and you want a good burger, Trump Burger just opened in Houston.
They opened it in Houston, of all the places in
Texas, baby. Trump Burger Joint. It's so it's a Trump themed burger joint where you can get all types of Trump goodness. Trump memorabilia and just good burgers and fries and stuff like that. So, I mean, and apparently, it's doing well.
Yeah, whoever thought of that and is licensing that from Trump is smart, because that can be a chain very, very easily. And I mean, they were smart. They were really smart. And that's taking advantage of everything that comes out. I mean, China even dropped, what it was like, MAGA hats and stuff like that, right? And dropped like no tariffs or tariffs to China, and made like $1 million off of selling shirts with anti-China words on them. So take advantage of the opportunity. Smart.
I'll do that. If I was China, I'll do that so quick and just make my made in China label on the back just even bigger. It's crazy. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got. There's a lot more we can talk about, but we're definitely pushing that threshold. So 3 Brothers No Sense, favorite barbershop style podcast, 6 rules of podcast: listen, like, share, subscribe, comment, and most importantly, listen again. Talk to you next week.